Revenge films.
My name is David Nelson. I'm one in a family of 4 with my parents and my younger brother, Jonathan. My brother Jonathan and I are 13 years apart. And ever since my little brother was born, my parents were obsessed with him. It seems like they didn't love me anymore at all and paid no attention to me. At the time, I was a middle school student, and there was a particular high school that I really wanted to attend. I wanted to go to prep school to study, and I also wanted to join a sports team. However, my parents refused to let me. They said,
"Your little brother was just born. You need to put yourself aside and be less selfish."
That was what they would say, and they refused to spend a penny on me or my education. When I was in my last year of middle school, all of my classmates around me had started going to prep school and studying for high school entry exams. But for me, my parents said to me, "You don't need to go to high school. You need to just go and find a job and put money into the family." Of course, it was really painful to have to give up on not only going to the high school I dreamt of, but going to high school in general. However, because my parents refused to give me any money to attend prep school or to go to high school, I had no choice but to give up on that dream. After I graduated from middle school, I desperately went around to find a job, and I was luckily able to be hired by a civil engineering company. But even after I got a job and I started putting money into the family, nothing changed. My parents only loved my little brother, and every time they would see me, they would say things to me like, "Stop coming home looking so dirty! Just leave the money on the table and get out!" They never wanted me around and were always bashing me. On top of that, even though I was putting $1,000 a month into the family, they refused to make food for me. On the dinner table, my plate would be missing, and I wasn't even allowed to enter the living room of my own home. And perhaps because my little brother was raised by these parents, he would also say things to me like, "Idiot brother, you suck!" When I started hearing these words come out of my little brother, I was reaching the limit of my stress that was piling up inside of me. But life like this continued for about 5 years, until one day I had gone to take a bath, but when I got back to my room, I noticed that my work bag was open. I felt like that was strange, and when I checked inside, I noticed that my wallet wasn't in its usual place and had been moved. I had a bad feeling about it, and when I slowly checked the inside of my wallet, I saw that all of the money that was inside was gone. I stormed into the living room, and when I asked my parents about it, they snapped back at me and said, "How horrible are you that you're going to suspect your own family of stealing from you?" And for some reason, they were the ones angry at me. But then, when I glanced over at my little brother, who had been so focused on the TV until seconds ago, he stood up with an awkward look on his face and slowly walked out of the living room. At that moment, I knew that my little brother was the one that stole the money from me. Even though he was my spoiled little brother, I didn't want him to turn out to become an adult that would easily steal from others. So that night, I decided to quietly go over to my brother's room and to confront him about this. "Kevin, you're going to be honest with me. You're the one that stole the money out of my wallet in my bag, aren't you?" When I looked him in the eyes, he said, "I didn't steal anything. And you know what? I'm going to tell on you to Mom and Dad that you suspected me of stealing your money." And then he flew out of his bedroom. Not only did he steal my money, he was blatantly lying to me like it was nothing. And to be honest, I was shocked. And of course, my brother went straight to my parents and told them about what just happened, and my parents were furious. What's wrong with you that you would suspect your little brother who's only in elementary school? That's unbelievable! Get out of this house right now! My father then grabbed my belongings and threw them and me outside of the house. And at the very end, he said, "But you better not forget to put $1,000 into the house every month." Those were his last words to me. And then he physically kicked me out of the house and locked the front door in my face. And so, at the age of 21, I had no choice but to leave my home. I had nowhere to go, and so I went to the house of the CEO of the company where I was working. When I explained the situation to him, he was kind enough to say that I could stay with him until I could find a new place to live. But then, when I told him everything that had happened to me up until that point, the CEO said, "I've never heard of parents who would ever treat their own child like that. That's horrible!" And I could tell that he was angry. And then he told me, "Why are you sending them money? Just stop it!" But, as much as I would have loved to stop, there was a reason why I couldn't. And that's because right around the time I first started working, my father told me that he needed to talk in private. And what he revealed to me was that he was actually riddled in a massive amount of debt. It turns out that my father was lying about going to work, but instead he was addicted to gambling, and his debt had already surpassed $1 million. But no matter how much money he took out, it still wasn't enough. And he said that he had taken out a loan from the bank under my name. He then told me that if I don't want to ruin my own name, then I would have to send $1,000 a month into the family to pay back that debt. That's why, even if I didn't want to, I wasn't able to stop sending the money. From there, I rented an apartment nearby, and I began my new life of living alone. I was really fed up with my life with my family who didn't love me, and once I started living alone, I was able to start enjoying my life. Every day was fulfilling and fun, and I could live freely. I was able to invite my friends over to my house whenever I wanted, and for the first time in my life, I even got a girlfriend. Things became serious with her, and I started thinking about a future with her. And I realized that if I was going to continue sending money to my parents in order to be able to support myself and my girlfriend, I was going to need to increase my income. When I went to discuss this with my CEO, he suggested that I consider setting up my own company. He said to me, "Look, David, when you had just graduated from middle school, you joined this company knowing nothing. But I've taught you everything that I know and whipped you into shape as best I could. And looking at you now, I'm confident that if you set up your own company, you'll succeed." And he pushed me. On top of that, the CEO actually supported me in every way for me to set up my own company. And at the age of 24 years old, I became the CEO of a civil engineering company. For a while in the beginning, I was struggling to adjust to the workload, and every day I was working countless overtime, and it was pretty difficult. But by the time a year had gone by, I had gotten used to the work, and my company had taken off. Life was great, until one day. Even though I hadn't heard from my family once ever since they kicked me out of the house, suddenly, out of nowhere, they showed up at my company and barged into the office. Without even saying hello to the other employees, they stormed straight into the company and into my office. My father yelled, "Why didn't you tell us that you started your own company? If you have a higher income now, then you should be sending us more money every month." He was raising his voice, and to add on to that, my mother said,
You're the eldest son of the family. The least you can do is pay for your little brother's high school expenses. Don't you care about your family?
When she said that, my brother chimed in. That's right, you idiot brother! And then he actually kicked my desk. Not only were they not grateful for the fact that I had been sending money every single month up until now, they heard from somewhere that I had become the CEO of my own company, and they were coming here to demand more money from me. There is no way that I would be able to forgive them for that. At that very moment, all of my unhappiness over the last 10 years exploded, and I ended up throwing my true feelings at them. I raised my voice and yelled, "That's enough already! Cut it out!" But then my mother was furious and said,
Is that the attitude you take to your parents that have taken care of you for all these years? How dare you!
But I replied, I don't remember ever being taken care of by you people. And not only that, but I've been sending you $1,000 every month, haven't I?
You really think that you can speak to us like that over such a small change? That is nothing!
But the moment I heard that, I thought about the blood, sweat, and tears I had gone through to earn the money to send to them every month. And something inside of me finally snapped. Fine then, I'm gonna stop sending you money anymore at all! When I declared that, my father tried to threaten me and said, if you don't pay back the debt that's under your name, it's your name that's going to be ruined. Are you sure you're okay with that? He said it confidently, but then I replied straight back to him that I knew he didn't actually take out any loan under my name. Actually, not long ago when I was considering buying a new car, I went to a car dealership, and as I was discussing the loan on the new car, I decided to also ask them about the debt that was supposedly under my name. And that was when the car dealership employee told me that if I discuss it with a lawyer, they would be able to tell me just how much was left on the loan under my name. So I went straight to a lawyer and I asked them to please look into it for me. That was when I found out that there was no loan in existence that was taken out under my name. That was the first time that I learned that it was all a lie that my father had told me in order to continue making me send them money every single month. When I said that and exposed that I knew the truth, my father was clearly flustered. Well, whatever. Even if that were to be the case, surely you can't just throw your family away like that so easily, can you? Look, I'll spare you from sending any extra money, but at the very least, you gotta keep sending us the same amount every month. This time he was begging me, but I simply said one more time, no, I'm not sending you another penny anymore. This time my mom said,
How awful. Does that mean you don't even care if your brother has to drop out of high school?
But I had had enough. I said, I don't think of you people as my family anymore anyway. Now hurry up and get out. Don't ever show your faces around here ever again. And I kicked them out of my company. And from that day forward, I stopped sending them any money whatsoever. But then, a few days later, my father showed up at my office once again. This time he was crying to me, saying that he never told the rest of the family about the loans he had to take out because of his gambling problem. And he said that he didn't know what to do about it without the money from me every month. But all I said to him in response was, that's none of my business, so don't come back here ever again. But this time my father got down on his knees and begged me. But he was only disrupting my work, so I also told him that if he were to come again, I was gonna report him to the police, and I had him out. After that, my father stopped coming to bother me at the office. Not long after that, I stopped sending the money every month. My parents were unable to pay my brother's school fees, and he had no choice but to drop out of high school. Of course, the family found out that this was because my father was struggling to make the payments on his loan. My mother was furious with him, and their relationship completely fell apart. Both my father and mother worked from morning until night until their eyes bled. But on the other hand, my little brother refused to work and continued to steal. I heard that he was taken in by the police multiple times. When he stole the money out of my wallet that day, I was worried that he might end up becoming an adult that steals all the time. And it seems like that prediction was correct. The relationship between the three of them fell apart, and I heard that now they're having to live together while fighting every single day. On the other hand, as for me, I no longer had to send money to my parents anymore and had cut off all ties with them. Around that time, I proposed to my girlfriend and I was going to get married. When it came time to meet our respective families, of course I didn't invite my family. Instead, I asked the CEO of the first company I ever worked at to come with me. Both of her parents were really kind people, and they treated me like I was their actual son. And from now on, I want to treasure my in-laws and my wife, and I even think I want to have children soon. I'm gonna forget about my parents and my little brother, and I can only hope from the bottom of my heart to live happily ever after.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.